Hey guys, it's Julian. I'm back again with another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use the vocoder in Ableton, and sort of like demystifying it because I feel like maybe not as much now, but like when I was trying to learn how to produce and stuff, um, there's a lot of like mixed information. There was a lot of bad information. It just was always kind of like hard to figure out for me how to use the vocoder in Ableton and just in general how to use vocoders and like talk boxes and all that kind of stuff. But that's a whole other thing. But yeah, so I wanted to make a video where I just give you like the important stuff, how to do like what you need to know to use the vocoder in a practical sense in music production in 2018 and beyond. Because obviously, you know, I can't go over every single possible use of this, or else this will be like a 5 hour long video. But what I'm going to show you is how to use the vocoder in the way that you will pretty much be using it like 85 to 90% of the time, and giving you the knowledge that you need to truly understand what's going on when you're using it in this like practical sense I'm referring to. So to start off with, I have this little loop I've put together. It's just some vocal hook from like a 91 vocals sample pack. So I don't get any kind of copyright infringement. And then I have this chord progression, which is playing on this piano. So these two together sound like this.
I can't let you do this. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be the same. Oh boy, there's gotta be more to this. Just tell me that I'll hold you in my arms again.
So, not exactly the best chord progression. I mean, not the most interesting one. Not exactly the best vocals. Could maybe use a little bit of tuning. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show you how to use the vocoder. So, I'm going to start off, and what we're going to do is we're going to get operator and put it on this piano thing here. And I'm going to switch this to a saw wave. It's important to use like a saw or a square wave or something, or any kind of harmonically rich sound. Like if you take a sine wave and distort it a lot, or a triangle wave and distort it, that can sound really cool too. But the key is to use something that's harmonically rich, because the vocoder, and I'm going to get more into this in a second, is reading the frequency input of your carrier and your modulator. And so it's not going to work very well. Like if you use a sine wave or just like kind of a dull sound, it's just not going to sound very good. What we're going to do, so we switch that to a saw wave. Like I said, you can also use a square wave, or if you want to get more creative, maybe like some kind of cool wavetable in Serum, or perhaps like a very distorted sine wave or something. And we're going to mute this operator track. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the vocals, and we're going to go to audio effects and put a vocoder on there. Now, what you should be having now is this, and it's not going to sound too good.
How can let you do this?
It opens up with this like noise carrier that can be kind of cool actually. If you layer this with like the dry vocals, you can get an interesting effect. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to this little drop down box thing here, and we're going to hit external. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to choose an external carrier. And by external, I mean something that's on a different track. And then route that to this. So we're going to hit audio from this little no input box and choose our operator track, or whatever your track is in your project file that has the thing you want to use as a carrier. And then we're going to select post effects. So now what we have set up is a carrier and a modulator. The carrier is like the thing that, if you think about it like the name, that carries the sound. So like when you hear this, you'll hear the chords, but then the modulator is what is modulating them. So you'll hear the vocals sort of like moving it harmonically. So you can hear, it sounds like this.
I can't let you do this. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be the same. Oh, but there's gotta be more to this. Just tell me.
So you hear what's going on here is, like I said, you hear the carrier, which is these chords. You can hear the chords, but then this vocal is modulating them, so that you only hear these chords when this is playing, and you still get, you get the vocal in there. So that's how this is always going to work, is you're going to have a carrier and a modulator. A good way to remember this is sort of, like I said, like the carrier sort of carries the signal, and then the modulator modulates it. And yeah, so this is like pretty much the way you're going to use this like 99% of the time, from what I've found, is This is a very useful technique. It can be a cool effect. It's cool, like when you have a big song and then a part opens up and it's just this vocoder vocal. Another technique people use is they'll duplicate this and turn the vocoder off on one of them. So now you get like this.
I can't let you do this. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be the same.
So now you get like one that's the dry vocal and one that's the vocoder. That's a good way to add some harmonies to your vocal or sort of spruce it up. But this is really like the main use for a vocoder. And this is definitely like something I would say is essential to know. And there's not too much else other than this. You can do a whole lot more stuff in here. There's all these different settings you can mess with. But the main ones are gonna be the amount of bands, like frequency bands, and the range, and then the formant. So as far as the bands go, yeah. So the way that works is like you are basically whatever you set this to, you can have more or less like frequency bands that the sound is split up into, and the sound will change as you do that. So if I play this,
I can't let you do. But there's gotta be more to this.
so essentially like as you go up and get more and more bands, the modulator is going to become more like audible, if that makes any sense. Like when I'm down here, it's really only affecting the rhythm, but when I get up to 40,
I can't let you do this.
it's like a whole other different type of effect. So this you just kind of have to mess with yourself. The range, you know,
I can't let you do this.
essentially you're setting the range of frequencies that this can pick up from the modulator. So like when you get down lower, you see you get very little of it, and I'm sure as I high pass this, yeah, so it's essentially just like a nice little filter that you have to work with. And now this formant knob is pretty cool. So what this does, if you don't know what the formant of a sound is, think of it as sort of like the vowel sound. So like kind of like ah or oo or e or I or whichever vowel you prefer. But basically what you can do with this is sort of like change the formant of this whole vocoded sound. And it can sound pretty cool. You can make some kind of like nasty sounds, but you can also make some pretty deep sounds. So if I mess around with it, so you see when I turn it up, it almost is like the vocal is getting higher in pitch, but it's staying in the same key. It just sounds more like, I guess this is more like a normal person singing, and this is sort of like a child. This is the best way I can describe it. But when you turn it down low, you get like this really beautiful, deep sort of sound. And like I said, like if you have like a part in your track where it just opens up and it's like this, and maybe put like a little reverb on that, you can get some really beautiful sounds with that. And it's just very deep and nice and warm. Now I will talk briefly about these other carrier settings. Like I said, there's this noise one. It just is it's the same as if you like did this whole thing I was saying where you set up your carrier as like an operator and then your modulator as a vocal, except instead of using a saw wave on operator, if I just used white noise, it would sound like this. The modulator,
I can't let you do this.
it doesn't sound too good on vocals, but it sounds good if you put it on like a saw wave or something. You can get like a cool kind of vocoder-y effect. And there's this pitch tracking. It's kind of like a weird thing. I don't know. Nobody really uses it, but you can definitely get some weird effects out of that, like speak and spell type voice effects, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much that use of it. There's a few other ways that you could use the vocoder as well. It's very popular for making, like, bass sounds. And there's a lot of ways you could go about this, I definitely would say. But, like, for example, you can have a lot of fun. You can record, like, your own modulator. Like, I could just record my voice going, like, I'll show you. I'm just going to record something short. I'm talking into the mic now, and it's recording a modulator. Okay. So now we have that little audio file that I just recorded. and I can just take like a snippet of it and make it. Let's just make like a loop out of this. I'll do it for 4 bars, and then what you can do is put in, like, I'll get another operator, and this is where you can get a little bit more creative too. You don't have to just use like a saw wave. You could get like maybe like I said, like a serum patch that's got more modulation or something. I mean, it's really up to you. I'm just doing a quick explanation. But I'm gonna put in, let's do like a low F sharp note, just like a nice sort of bass sound. So like we did before, I'm gonna mute this operator, and then I'm gonna put a vocoder on the vocals and hit external, and then 2 operator, and now, I mean, it's pretty quiet. Let me put a utility on there and turn it up. And you can see when I'm messing with that format knob, you get these like really cool modulations that there's not really a lot of other ways to do this. I guess you could do this with like some filtering and stuff, but it's a cool way to get started on a sound, because then like if I start distorting this, for example, let's try the amp. Yeah, see, when you're like a little bit more light-handed, I guess, with the format knob, you can get some interesting things. But it's a cool way to get some nice textures out of your sounds. And you could even like bounce this down and then use it as like a serum wavetable. Like, there's a million things that you could do with it. But the point is, it's a really cool way to create some modulation in your like bass sounds, I guess. And as you can see, it's really not that hard. All that was just like a couple minutes. But yeah, guys, I hope you learned something today. Let me know what you think. Hit the comments, like this video, subscribe to my channel if you really learned something and you want to help me out. Yeah, thanks everybody. Peace.